Hey, how's it going? This is Dr. Brown. How you doing?
All right.
Ooh,
Doing all right. And you?
I'm doing okay. I can't complain at all. Yet again, ready for another exciting episode of Health Facts.
Yes, sir.
All
Give
right,
me
cool.
1 second. I put you on.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was George looks good on me. The time now, 12:15. That's right. It's time now for Health Facts with Dr. Brown. Stay tuned.
All right, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. It's always good to chat with the folks at WVOE. Good afternoon, listeners. You're locked into WVOE 1590 AM, the voice of Ebony, where your health is our heartbeat. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Brown, president and founder of Pressure MD Academy, welcoming you to another enriching session of Health Facts, the show where wisdom meets wellness and knowledge is always in season. So thank you for tuning in yet again. We always appreciate those of you that are watching on live stream, those of you that are watching on the YouTube or Facebook, and those folks listening on WVOE. We really appreciate you. As always, you can always check us out at Pressure MD Academy as well if you want to log in there also. But of course, the primary thing we love to do on this show is to provide you with information to help you help yourself. Information that can make you a little wiser, that can make you a little, just a little, give you that extra edge whenever you go into your doctor's office, to give you inspiration whenever you're picking out your food at the grocery store. Sometimes you just need that little oomph, that little edge, something in nature, to make those better choices. And so that's what we strive to do here on Health Facts. So what are we doing? What are we going to talk about today? It's always that question. What are we going to talk about today? So today I chose a topic to talk about that I get a lot of questions about, and I've talked to some of my other doctor friends. They seem to be getting these questions as well, and thought I would just do a really high level approach to this issue that a lot of people hear about, and that is supplements. The issue of supplements. Whether it's different supplements, sometimes vitamins, and things that you can. A lot of times, most people tell me they get this information or marketing really on like the internet, TikTok, Facebook, and you'll see an ad that pops up, and it's like, hey, try this, and it'll work wonders. The one I love are the ones that say detox. You're gonna detox things, and so decided to kind of go over the concept of supplements. I think we touched on this a little bit before, but like the concepts of supplements, but what at least what I think about, how to approach supplements. So as always, I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. So, always make sure that you check any of this information before you apply it to yourself. Check with your doctor, check with your nurse practitioner, check with your physician assistant to make sure that whatever information that you receive and that you act on is for you. This is just general education, general health information, just designed to kind of get your mind thinking, not mind thinking, and a lot of times making you aware of topics. And when it comes to supplements, this is one that I really think people need to know. And so today we're going to talk about the fact that natural does not always mean kidney safe. And so this is especially for people, it's for everybody in general, but especially for folks that have kidney disease. So we're going to talk about, kind of do a high level approach over supplements that people with kidney disease and people with kidneys, how about that? Which means everybody, right? So that they really need to know and be aware of. Okay. So the number, if you don't walk, if you're just tuning in or seeing this on a recording, one of the things that I really want everyone to remember is that when it comes to these supplements, vitamins, things of this nature, always discuss this with your clinician. whether it's, your primary care doctor, your nephrologist, and really any other, especially honestly, if you're taking a supplement, always discuss that, because a lot of times some of these supplements can interfere with different parts of the body. They cause changes inside the body. Okay, and so chronic kidney disease, any stage, of course, you want to know that. A high blood pressure requiring monitoring, that supplements that can interfere with that as well. Diabetes, kidney stones, heart disease, kidney transplants, especially multiple medication, because the more meds you have, the more of a chance that one of these supplements might interact with it. So all of these, so I'm labeling specific conditions, but it really, if you're taking it, you really just need to let somebody know about it. Okay, let your clinician know about it. Okay, now when it comes to kidneys, the kidneys are really high precision biofilters. If you really want to think about it, they're high precision biofilters that really play a crucial role in what we call homeostasis, or balancing of electrolytes, fluid volume, and things of this nature. And so they can be affected by a number of these things. So, when it comes to potassium and sodium in the body, they maintain the levels of these electrolytes within a certain range. Fluids, yet again, same thing. You don't want too much fluid and you don't want too little fluid. They help with that. When they produce, help the body produce vitamin D, they're helping with with the calcium and phosphorus, stuff of the nature that also helps with minerals and bones inside the body. They help with the acid base. They filter out waste products. Okay, so that happens as well. And then they also help, are crucial in helping you to control your blood pressure. So this is all that goes on with the kidneys, and depending upon the supplement, those supplements can interfere with those numerous mechanisms that we have from the kidney. And that's just the kidney alone. There are other parts of the body. Now, kidneys are my favorite, of course, but there are other parts of the body that can be acted upon as well. So as we go through this, we're going to talk about these various topics. And one thing, and like so, we'll touch on it as well a little later on as well. And that is one thing about supplements. Remember, there's two. So when we prescribe a medication, so like a amlodipine or something of that nature, that is an FDA approved drug, which means it had to be designed in a certain manner. It had to be produced in a certain manner. Even when it's distributed, it's got to be, they got to know where this stuff is going. And even afterwards, like I said, if once it gets out to the public for use, there's ongoing monitoring to make sure it's safe and stuff of this nature. And I know a lot of people are like, well, there are recalls on certain medications. Well, exactly, and they will tell you, the recall is on this medication, this batch that went over here. And that's because it's highly regulated. The supplement industry is not as heavily regulated because it's just not as heavily regulated. Now, there are some, basic certification. There are certain entities that help to try to make this stuff as safe and as regulated, kind of unofficially regulated as possible. But it's not it's not like the FDA regulation that is a actual system with repercussions and things of this nature. This is more like reputational. And so that's one of the things about supplements. So a lot of times, if you ever take your supplement to your clinician, they'll tell you, well, I can't, they don't know, guarantee you, because this batch may be different from that batch, and there's no system, at least kind of a federally regulated system that kind of monitors that. Okay, there's more of a reputation there. So that's one thing to keep in mind whenever we're talking about these supplements, and I always like to let people know that. Now, so what are we going to do? We're going to talk about some of the ones that they're common and just things that people just have to keep in mind. And so number 10 on this list is going to be high dose vitamin C. And one of the reasons why we look at that is because excess vitamin C, can lead to oxalate, which if you form kidney stones, can predispose you to maybe forming a few more kidney stones than that. It's a greater concern with kidney dysfunction. And honestly, when it comes to vitamin C, the food sources are usually preferable. So, you might want to get this, instead of taking vitamin C supplements, just go get a citrus fruit that naturally has that vitamin inside of it. That's usually the best source of your vitamin C. Plus, it usually comes with other nutrients. And I know when we talked a little bit before about trying to get protein inside of your body, just remembering that protein comes with other things. The same thing with vitamin C. Whenever you get the vitamin C from the orange, it's going to come with other nutrients and things that your body can utilize. And so it's not kind of this focused compound that we may think we need, but honestly, the whole food is probably better for you, and for the majority of people. This one, number 9, actually, I probably should have put this up a little higher. And this is something called creatine. Okay. And one of the first things is that there's creatine and then there's creatinine. So the creatine is a supplement that a lot of people use. If you know somebody that works out a lot, they probably, this is common amongst people that work out a lot, especially lifting weights, stuff of this nature. Creatinine is actually a waste product from muscle turnover inside the body, and that's how we actually measure your kidney function. Now, in terms of health issues with creatine, because a lot of people ask me a lot of times, is this going to harm my kidney? And honestly, the conventional doses that are prescribed have not been shown to harm normal kidney tissue. But in certain people, whenever they supplement with this, what happens is that this actually gets turned into basically the creatinine that gets measured, and it looks like your kidney function drops. Okay, so that's basically what happens. And so sometimes what we'll do is we'll have people like either they can come off the creatine for a little while, basically let it wash out, and it goes back to normal, and we know it's fine. Other times, there's different ways of measuring the kidney function, and so we can use that as well, just to make sure that the function itself is actually normal. But like I said, the supplement in and of itself is not always is not known to harm normal kidney tissue. But the thing is this, and that is because if you don't tell somebody, then it's going to look like your kidney function is falling, and you're going to get a whole battery of tests as people try to figure out what is going on with your kidneys. So yet again, this is why I say, look, that's why one of the things we say is whatever you're taking, let your doctor know. Okay, so whatever you're taking, let your doctor know. So, all right. So now the safety data and pre-existing CKD does remain limited. So always notify your nephrologist or your doc, just to make sure that they know that you're taking this supplement. Okay. Protein powders. So yet again, this is another thing that people that work out a lot like to take, is protein powders, protein supplements. And so one of the issues becomes, or controversial issue, I guess, becomes the total intake. And so, especially for chronic kidney disease, the recommendation is usually around 0.8 grams per kilogram of protein per day. And typically you're avoiding the greater than 1.3 grams per kilogram per day, especially if you're at risk of progression. So if you're at risk of this kidney function getting worse, a lot of times they'll want to make sure you're not taking an additional amount of protein. But for the most part, like I said, if your kidneys are otherwise healthy, it's really not known to be directly, kind of directly harmful. Now, your protein needs will change if for those that have kidney disease, protein needs will change with dialysis. And yet again, we're going back to that last little bullet here, individualized. This is why you let your clinician know, because they'll know what sort of conditions you have and whether or not you need to remain within a certain protein intake range, or if taking extra protein is just really not going to be impactful on your clinical condition. So you always want to let somebody know. Yeah. All right. Then we got number 7, and that is licorice root. And it has a compound that can raise blood pressure. It can retain sodium. It can lower your potassium. It can cause fluid problems, and it can affect heart rhythms, depending on what goes on there. So this is a compound that you want to be a little cautious about. So if you're taking that, that one definitely needs to be reported, especially and especially if you take it and you notice, you take it and all of a sudden your blood pressure stuff is going on. So that's one. Again, all these are ones you want to let somebody know, but this is one that if someone's saying, oh, it's all natural, just be a little cautious. This one definitely needs to be reported because they need to watch and make sure that you're doing okay otherwise. Okay. Then we got some certain herbal toxins, and one of them is what we call aristotolic acid, colchic acid. I'm sorry about that. And it's apparently a renal toxin, a human renal toxin. It can cause some fibrosis, nephropathy, and so this is one you definitely, like I said, when you're getting, really, and this is one you're going to want to think about when you're getting what they call traditional herbal mixtures, and things that are not well labeled. So if you're going to get supplements that are herbal supplements, you're going to want to make sure that they're getting it from a reliable source, and that there's some quality metrics going along with that. But if you're getting some, this unstandardized, where people got stuff in a little baggie or whatever, yeah, you might be at risk of this, okay? Or you need to be at least concerned about it. Let's see, St. John's wort, okay? And this is not actually a toxin per se. The issue becomes with drug interaction, because what happens is we actually we take medications, we have to metabolize it in our body. And so there's certain compounds that can interfere with that metabolism. And so this is one of those compounds that can interfere with the metabolism. And so yet again, it's not that you have to necessarily stop this, but you do have to let someone know that you're taking this. So St. John's wort, if you're taking that one, let your doctor know, okay? All right. Then we got number 4, which is we're just going to call it electrolyte powders, whether it's potassium pills over the counter. Electrolyte powders, those little sport things you put in your water. Salt substitutes are a big one too. Now, these are more of a risk for people that have chronic kidney disease. And it becomes a little tricky because, you may have, good functioning, you may have CKD where your kidneys are functioning well and not have to worry about that. But then as that kidney function continues to decrease, what happens? That kidney may not handle certain electrolytes very well. And one of the electrolytes that anybody with kidney disease has to be aware of is how well your kidneys are handling potassium, because potassium can build up and it can cause a lot of harms. And one of the biggest risks that we're always concerned about is high potassium levels, what we call hyperkalemia, leading to heart issues. Okay, so anytime you take, yet again, I'm gonna say this time and time again, and that is, whatever you're taking, make sure that you're diagnosed. And so that includes, of course, potassium pills. I would hope you already let somebody know. But one of and electrolyte powders, I guess people would think about that a little bit, but one of the big ones is salt substitutes, because a lot of times people are trying to get around taking in too much sodium. And a lot of salt substitutes are actually, it's actually a potassium chloride. It's actually a type of potassium that your body can absorb. And so while that's great for, lowering your salt intake, your sodium intake, and trying to live a little bit healthier, you just need to make sure that someone is monitoring your potassium and that you talk to them about that and say, hey, I'm using salt substitute. Is that okay? They can look at your labs. If your potassium's normal, you're for the most part should be good to go. Then number 3, magnesium. Magnesium can be found in some sleep products, laxatives, sometimes antacids, and some electrolyte products have magnesium in it as well. And this is more for people that have advanced chronic kidney disease. They have to be a little cautious about this for the most part, because sometimes when that kidney that kidney function is lower, what happens is that you can't, kind of like potassium, you can't eliminate the magnesium as you normally would, and that can lead to higher magnesium levels. So yet again, this is something else you want to make sure people know about. Number 2, so high dose vitamins. And that's of any type, but of course, fat soluble vitamins. These are ones that can build up in the body and the tissue, and they're not necessarily excreted inside the urine. So you always want to be cautious about this. So if you've taken vitamins A, vitamins E, vitamins K, yet again, those are things that, unlike other vitamins where these are excreted, like a lot of B vitamins are excreted in the urine. So it's very hard to, kind of accumulate higher doses of that, because you actually pee it out. Not all of them, but like I said, a lot of them. But these fat soluble vitamins. What's going on? I'm speaking a little too fast. The fat soluble vitamins can accumulate in body tissues, and depending upon, and some of them actually can have a systemic toxicity. Vitamin A, and specifically, as one I think about, and they can cause a systemic toxicity. Vitamin K, it can be harmful, especially if you're on blood thinners. There's certain blood thinners where vitamin K can actually neutralize the effect of that blood thinner. So if you're taking say you got a clot and they put you on a blood thinner and you're taking vitamin K, yet again, let somebody know, because like I said, they may say, oh, no, you need to stop taking the vitamin K. Or if you're taking a certain amount of it and you've been taking it for a while, they need to know so they can make adjustments. And it may be that, they can just make adjustments to whatever you're taking. So like I said, sometimes there's more than one way to get around that particular situation. And another one, high dose vitamin D. And the reason why is that vitamin D can accumulate. And so if you're getting mega doses of vitamin D, it can cause your calcium to go up. It can cause your phosphorus to go up. So high dose vitamin D can cause electrolyte issues with some of the electrolytes inside the body. Sometimes for vitamin D, it can drive, there's some thoughts that it can drive some vascular calcification, something called nephrocalcinosis if you're prone to that. And honestly, if you take too much vitamin D, calcium goes up, it actually can injure the kidney. So more is not automatically better. Now, with that being said, anybody that's followed definitely by kidney docs and sometimes by primary care docs, they'll find your vitamin D is low and they'll give you a high dose vitamin D. But that high dose vitamin D is only supposed to be for a certain period of time, and it requires periodic monitoring to make sure that vitamin D level doesn't go too high. And my favorite one, the kidney detox products. So when people say, hey, you need a cleansing tea, you need multi-herbal flushes and detox products, this gets marketed to people a lot, whether it's a kidney flush, some sort of weight loss blend, some sort of, some sort of, a lot of times I feel like a lot of times it's usually teas and stuff. And so these you got to figure out, you're trying to figure out whether or not there's things that are in there that are unlisted, like might be diuretics, heavy metals, stuff of that nature. Is there a nephrotoxic herb in there that may not be limited, may not even be listed? So you might not know, right? And so that's one of the things that, when it comes to these, definitely, again, let somebody know, but most docs are probably going to tell you that, you might not want to take that, especially those people that have kidney disease. And now don't get it twisted. I mean, some of these things are, they're very natural. I think the one I think about the most is the dandelion tea, because dandelion tea, that seems to be popular. Now, dandelion tea actually there's the actual data that's actually been studied. And so there are certain compounds that are anti-inflammatory in that. There are certain compounds that actually are a mild diuretic that are in there. And so, so I can't say that it doesn't have any effect on a person's health. But, some of these substances are studied a little bit, like I said, dandelion tea, but a lot of them don't have, nice, solid, what we call good quality studies to justify or to really list. I mean, because sometimes it's just a matter of we don't know. If it hasn't been studied properly, we just don't know. And as a physician, you can't really comment on it. You can comment on what literature and what studies have been out there, but a lot of times it's not going to be the same as the stuff that we're trained to study. That's it. Now, one thing I like to let people know when they're talking about detox is that your kidneys, that's what they do, especially kidneys and liver. That's what they do. They clear out toxin. That's their natural function. So the kidneys do it, and they create urine. The liver does it, creates bile, it, and that's what these organs actually do, is they help remove things that are not supposed to be in there. And one of the things I tell folks about removing stuff is, if you don't take it in, it you don't need to get it out. So that's where we go back to that whole food, plant predominant diet, where you try to take things that are, try to consume things that are minimally processed, because that's where, the things that people are concerned about, usually that's where it's coming from, is usually some sort of processing, some sort of process that, may or may not be, well, that's probably well regulated, but it may have stuff that we don't really know unless you read the labels. So try to get stuff that's as close to natural as possible. Drink your water, get a good water filter, and drink your water. Eat well, and usually don't, usually your body is able to handle most of the other stuff that's there. All right, so that's kind of those are the kind of the top 10. Okay. So those are kind of the top 10s that at least that we're going to cover today. Now, there are other things that I think, yet again, they're supplements, they're products that kind of help you with certain issues. And and a lot of times this stuff is not, in my experience, from what I've seen with what with when people bring it in, a lot of times it's not necessarily bad per se, but it's just stuff that we need to know. Hey, like I said, this is going on. And that way, if you ever have some labs that are off, or you start, feeling weird or something, we can at least think about this. Hey, that person takes a lot of supplements, and at least go look and see if there's any warnings or anything that might be out about them. So, so make sure that, and these are some popular supplement categories that, yet again, probably should be discussed if you're taking them. So collagen, chromium, pre-workout, anything. So like I said, a lot of times they might have caffeine or some sort of vasoactive stimulants in there. Bodybuilding products. Just make sure there's nothing going on in there. Weight loss blends. So, and then unlabeled formulation. So yet again, even though supplements are not as well regulated as these FDA approved medications, there are certain things like certain entities that do have a monitoring process. It may not be as well regulated, but there is something out there that can kind of help you to know whether or not this is being, if there's anything verified in there or not. So if you are going to take them, make sure that that there is some sort of monitoring product. Yeah, like yet again, if someone's got something in a Ziploc bag, they probably did not have this evaluated and anything by anybody, and you just don't know what's in there. Okay. All right. So now, yet again, the blood pressure connection. So, so depending on what you're taking, it could affect your blood pressure. And of course that cycle, can continue. There are certain high risk substances. Licorice is one of them. Some of the pre-workout stuff that has high caffeine, and those things can impact blood pressure as well. And so that's why you always want to make sure you check on those. And let's see, in terms of high risk groups for kidney safety, so individuals with chronic kidney disease, of course, that's to be known. Kidney stones, kidney transplants, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart failure, all those people are at risk of kidney issues. Then, of course, older adults, people on multiple prescriptions, you have issues with the supplements interacting with things. So let's go to myths and facts as we kind of try to wrap up here and try to wrap up on time. So myths. Creatine destroys your kidneys, and that's the myth. But the fact is that this creatine supplementation, and actually creatine is really has a lot of good data for it, and it has not been in the regular doses has not been shown to harm healthy kidney, but it can increase the thing that we measure, which is this creatinine. And so always let somebody know so they can keep an eye on that, especially if they tell you that your kidney function is going down. Say, hey, I'm taking this creatine. That way they can know about it. Okay. Myth number 2: if protein builds muscle, more protein must be better. And the fact is that protein needs depend upon the individual. So KDIGO, and that's kind of our kidney. I think with kidneys that they kind of help provide our guidelines. They recommend 0.8 grams per kilogram per day for most adults with chronic kidney disease, and to avoid taking in more than 1.3 grams per kilogram in those people that are at risk of progression. Myth number 3, if it's sold without a prescription, the kidneys can handle it. And the fact is, over-the-counter availability does not determine kidney safety. So, and when it comes to that, not just, because one of the things that I really think about is Aleve ibuprofen, that what we call NSAIDs. They're sold over the counter, and a lot of people don't know that can harm the kidney. And so the same thing goes with a lot of supplements. Myth number 4, natural products can't interfere with medication. The fact is that yes, natural products can interfere with medication. St. John worts is one of the ones that we really think about. Myth 5, kidney detox helps my kidney remove toxin. And the fact that there is no standard cleanse supplement proven to restore normal kidney functions. And some herbal products can create kidney electrolyte or medication products. So when it comes to your supplements, ask yourself and your clinician 5 key safety questions. Why are you taking it? What is the dose? What's actually in it? Could it affect my kidneys? And could it affect my kidney tests? So those are things to ask. And so I think because we're running out of time here, so basically the take-home message for this is that the core principles for protecting your kidney health: natural does not always mean safe. Over-the-counter does not always mean kidney safe, and more does not always mean better. So thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please check out Pressure MD Academy, and I thank you for tuning in.